Today we're going to talk about an emperor who, right at the peak of his power, after a really brutal victory, did something absolutely unheard of. He just gave up war. This is the incredible story of Ashoka. You know, if you've ever handled Indian currency, you've seen this symbol. It's on coins, it's on the banknotes. And you've probably seen it 1,000 times and not really thought twice about it. But it's so much more than just a design. It's actually a doorway to an incredible story from the ancient world.
So, why lions? Why this specific symbol on a modern banknote? Well, to get the answer, we have to travel back in time, way back to one of the greatest empires in history. And it all comes down to a single moment, a profound change of heart for its most famous ruler.
All right, first things first, let's dig into the story behind this symbol and figure out where it came from.
So, this is it. This is the famous lion capital. And get this, it was carved out of a single piece of stone over 2,300 years ago. Can you imagine the skill? It was all done on the orders of Emperor Ashoka.
Okay, to really get a grip on who Ashoka was, you first have to understand the sheer scale of the world he ruled. So let's zoom out and take a look at the massive Mauryan Empire. The Mauryas were a dynasty, a ruling family. It all kicked off with Ashoka's grandfather, the legendary Chandragupta Maurya. He's the guy who started it all. Then came his son, Bindusara, and after him came Ashoka, the grandson, who would go on to become the most famous of them all.
Just take a look at this map for a second. The Mauryan Empire was absolutely enormous. It stretched across nearly the entire subcontinent. You've got the capital, Pataliputra, way over in the east, and then these other major cities like Takshila and Ujjaya holding things down in other regions. Ruling a territory this huge, with so many different kinds of people, that was a monumental task.
And that's why we call it an empire, not just a kingdom. There's a big difference, right? Empires are on another level. They're way bigger, which means you need vast resources, huge armies to defend the borders, and tons of officials just to collect taxes and make sure everything runs smoothly. It's a whole different ballgame. But for all its power, Ashoka's entire legacy, everything we remember him for, would come to be defined by one single incredibly bloody war. A war that changed everything, the conquest of Kalinga. So, Ashoka, like most emperors of his time, wanted to expand his empire even more. He set his sights on a place called Kalinga. That's the ancient name for what's now coastal Orissa. And he launched an all-out war to conquer it.
From a purely military standpoint, the war was a success. Ashoka won. But the price was just horrifying. Over 100,000 people were killed in the fighting.
And that's not even the whole story. On top of all those deaths, another 150,000 people were captured, just taken from their homes and made prisoners. The scale of the suffering, it's really hard to even wrap your head around. And seeing all this devastation, all this violence, it completely broke him. He was filled with sorrow and regret. And he actually had this incredible change of heart carved into rock for everyone to read. He said, "I believe that winning people over through Dhamma is much better than conquering them through force."
And this right here is what makes Ashoka so unique in all of world history. Think about it. What do kings and emperors usually do after winning a huge war? They throw parades, they build victory arches, they start planning their next conquest, right? Ashoka did the exact opposite. He was so horrified by his own victory that he gave up war, forever. He's the only king in history to win a war and then just stop.
So that begs the question, right? If you're not going to rule by conquest and force, how are you going to rule a massive empire? Well, this led him to develop a whole new philosophy, a new way to rule, which he called Dhamma.
So what exactly is Dhamma? Well, the word itself is the Prakrit form of Dharma. But it's really important to understand that this wasn't a religion. He wasn't telling people to worship a certain god or perform specific sacrifices. Nope. It was more like a moral code of conduct, a set of principles for how to live a good life that could apply to everyone.
And what were these principles? Well, they're things that sound pretty familiar, even today. Be gentle with slaves and servants. Respect your elders. Treat all living creatures with compassion. Give gifts to monks and wise men. And this one is amazing for its time. Respect all religions. Don't go around criticizing what other people believe. And Ashoka didn't just talk the talk, he really walked the walk.
He put the entire machinery of his empire into spreading this message. He appointed special officers called Dhamma Mahamata, whose whole job was to go out and teach people about it. He had his ideas carved onto giant rocks and stone pillars so they'd last forever. He even sent messengers to other countries like Syria, Egypt, and Greece. And he built things for the people: roads, wells, rest houses for travelers. He was all in.
So this brings us to his legacy. How is it that we even know all this stuff more than 2,000 years later? Well, the answer is, quite literally, written in stone.
The artisans back in the Mauryan Empire were just incredible masters of their craft. I mean, look at these sculptures. You've got the lion capital and the Ramparul bull. The detail, the polish on the stone, it's just mind-blowing. And the fact that they've survived for over 2,300 years is a testament to that skill.
And on these pillars and rocks, he carved his messages for everyone to see, using a script called Brahmi. He was basically sending a message through time. He specifically said he hoped his sons and his grandsons and all future rulers would see this and choose not to go to war. He wanted them to focus on spreading Dhamma instead.
And that brings us right back to where we started. That big question. So why these lions on the banknote? Well, it's because this lion capital, it symbolizes everything Ashoka stood for. It's a powerful reminder of his legacy of peace over war, of a ruler's moral duty to his people, and of this truly revolutionary idea that you can rule through compassion, not just through force. And let's end with this quote from India's first Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru. He said that Ashoka's edicts, his messages, still speak to us in a language we can understand, and we can still learn much from them. And isn't that the truth? It's a message about peace and doing the right thing that's just as relevant now as it was thousands of years ago.